What's going on, guys? So today it is time to do a review on the Benchmade Crooked River. So if you've watched all my videos, you might have remembered when I got this Crooked River knife in trade, and part of the agreement for the trade was that I had to use it, and then eventually do a video on it talking about my experiences. And that's exactly what I did. I used this knife a little bit harder than I use most knives. I went outside, did some woodworking stuff, did the old, stab into a tree and pry the tip out, which is kind of abusive for most knives. It doesn't really matter if it's a folder or a fixed blade. Generally, people don't use folders, for stabbing into trees or doing bushcraft stuff, but I went ahead and did that anyway. And this thing came out on top. I have to say, I'm extremely impressed with it. This one is rocking a CPM S30V blade. If you've never used CPM S30V, you are missing out. It is just fantastic across the board. There's a ton of companies that use it, and for good reason. Now, this knife costs $220 in and around, depends on where you get it, but let's say at least a $200 knife. And I do think it's worth it. It's hard to say that. A lot of knives that are very expensive, some people think you're buying a name. It's not always the case. I think more times than not, when you're buying, an expensive knife, anything over $100 I consider expensive. You are getting premium materials, you're getting fit and finish, you're getting certain designs. That's really what it comes down to as well. If you like a certain design knife, whatever they charge for it, that's what it is. Unless, of course, they make a comparable, model somewhere else with the same exact materials, which often never happens. So, first I want to talk about the box real quick. You can see this is part of their Hunt series. They have the kind of wood grain boxes from Benchmade. The idea behind the Hunt series is quite obvious. They're basically taking old school hunting designs. These knives are specifically meant to be used outdoors, used tough, kind of overbuilt. And they went with this whole theme here. Now, this exact knife, having this big old clip point on here, this is a very traditional, hunting design, a hunting knife, right? So anyway, you can see Crooked River. The exact model here is a 15080-2, all right, showing that it's for hunting. Obviously, you can use this for whatever you want. CPM S30V, as I mentioned, manual opening, axis lock, all right, and this is part of their blue class. Now, what's nice, if you never noticed on these boxes, they do have the born date. This is born January 11th, 2019. So, what you hear rattling on the inside there is the original spacer, all right? So the previous owner did not like the little pop of orange in the back, all right? Normally this has an orange spacer and also has this orange aluminum pivot collar, okay? It's on both sides. Gives a little pop of color. The idea behind this, I would assume, I didn't design this knife, but I would imagine being a, hunting knife. I don't know why I had to completely drop that to give you the quotes. Hunting knife. You want to be able to see it if you drop it. Drop it in the leaves, in the mud, the dirt, whatever. Leave it in your stand. That orange color from the back spacer originally and the pivot color on both sides is supposed to give you a little bit of visibility. That is my assumption. I think it's a fairly good assumption. But the previous owner put in a black one. Now, I'm not sure where they got this black one. It almost seems like it's 3D printed just by the finish that's on here. It's kind of glossy. I can kind of see, the layering in there. So that's my best guess. I don't really know for sure. The black is definitely more subdued, but of course you still have those original pivot colors. So just as, as an FYI, if you're looking at this and you're like, man, something's a little bit different. I have one of those and I don't really know what's going on. It's probably that, all right? There is an orange spacer on all the models. Okay, this particular one just happens to have a black one. So then of course you get your little bag in there and your little paperwork. So what is going on with this knife? Well, the best way I can describe this knife is it works. It works well. It is comfortable. It's not it's very non-offensive. And what I mean by that is it doesn't matter how big your hands are, how small your hands are. There's a lot of handle here, all right? 5.3 inches of handle. And there's a very slight finger trawl here and then a very slight curvature. So it doesn't matter if you have tiny little hands that are like way up here. You might have some handle sticking out, but you can hold it comfortably. If you got big old mitts, you're just Andre the Giant and you need a pocket knife, this would still fit you fine. If I choke up a little bit on this, and I have fairly large hands, I'm a big boy, and you can see how much handle's sticking out, all right? So if you had massive hands, it would still be fairly comfortable, I would imagine. As far as materials here, we have aluminum bolsters on both sides, stainless steel liners, And the handle material here, they call diamond wood. All right, now it's really fascinating. Diamond wood spelled D-Y-M-O-N W-O-O-D, I believe. Diamond, not diamond. But anyway, I could be wrong there. But regardless, it's a proprietary thing. All it is a basic wood. From what I understand, it's like birch, although they have used other things as well. And it's impregnated with resin. Okay, that stabilizes the wood. So when you have wood on pocket knives, you want them to be stable. What that means is if you impregnate the actual wood with resin, it can't swell, you know, from moisture and temperature changes or shrink. So a lot of old knives that have just regular old wood, like someone just, you know, cut a piece of wood, shaped it, put it on a handle. You see those knives that are 20, 30, 50, 100 years old, whatever. The handle scales are too small. They literally shrink with time. Or let's say you drop it in water or your hands are sweaty, it swells. You know, so wood is reactive. That's like, you know, sometimes in the winter or summer, your door, let's say your front door to your house or, you know, a door inside, it might stick a little bit. That's because it could be swelling. You know, right now it's summer. My front door happens to stick a little in the summer because it swells from the humidity. So it's just one of those things where, you know, you have this beautiful wood look, but you have that permanent durability. That is really where this is, you know, the purpose of this diamond wood. Now that's just a proprietary name. There's probably dozens and dozens of different companies that are making impregnated wood. Okay, they've been doing it for decades. It's not anything new. I did want to mention this because I heard at some point, I think last year, that the company that made diamond wood specifically had a fire and they were out of commission. Now, you know, they made wood for all different things. I think they even made stocks, gun stocks as well. But again, there's plenty of other companies that are doing stuff like this. I don't know if this original Crook River is actually still available. If it's still, I mean, you know, obviously every knife you could buy. However, I don't know if it's still in production. Maybe you guys can shed some light on that. There was another version of this that instead of these diamond wood handles, they have gray G10. The gray G10 kind of looks nice. I feel like for the gray G10 model, excuse me, they should have went with a different pivot collar because they still have the orange. You know, so I don't know, it doesn't match the same. To be honest, I don't think that the wood matches the orange at all. In fact, when I first got this knife, this is the third one I've had now. When I first got this knife, I did a first impressions video when this was very first released years ago. And in that video, someone just sent it to me to check out, and I forget, I don't know if it was just on loan or what. I forget what the situation was, but they sent it to me. I just did a first impressions. I didn't even use the knife. I think maybe I traded it off or I sent it back to them, whatever the case was. And I liked it, but I remember thinking, like, the orange is cool, but why not make an orange G10 scale to go with that? Why wood? If you want to go wood because you want it to be like this outdoorsy hunting knife, and, you know, wood is just part of that, I suppose. Very traditional to use wood on hunting knives. Why not just go with a wood-colored pivot collar? You know what I mean? Like, I just like to see consistency here. So it's something that's, like, almost bothered me aesthetically to have this orange and then, you know, originally the nice orange in the back. Offer one at least with a full orange G10 handle, but I've never seen it. I just never seen it. I've seen this one, I've seen the gray one. I want to say they even have a gold class version of this. I'm not 100% on that. But anyway, it's just one of those things, not a big deal. But I did want to talk about that diamond wood a little bit because it's all it is impregnated resin inside of regular wood to stabilize it. Okay, so it never changes its shape. It's, you know, way more durable than regular wood. All right, so if you happen to bump this on something where a regular piece of wood might have chipped out, this is extremely hard. It might as well be G10. You know what I mean? So yeah, some specs. We have a 4-inch blade. It does come across as a large knife. Okay, it is 9.3 inches overall. We have a satin finish clip point blade, which is absolutely beautiful. I mean, regardless of the handle, I think the handle does look nice. The combination here with the design, but this blade is just where it's at. I would have this blade on any knife. Very traditional. It's a little bit of a heavier clip point here. All right, there is a swedge. It's obviously not sharpened because I'm rubbing my finger on it right now. Just a little bit of sweep up front with a straight edge here. I do like that this cuts back. All right, so it acts like a blade choil, so it's very easy to sharpen this all the way to the very end. It's just a good looking blade. You know, I don't know anyone personally that would look at that and be like, oh, what an ugly shape. You know what I mean? It's just so traditional. It's aggressive, in my opinion. I think it's a really aggressive looking blade. I just absolutely love it. Of course, everyone has their preference. I know, you know, I have a friend who loves Warncliffs. You know, I have a friend who only does Tanto blades or Tonto blades. So, I mean, everyone has their thing, but clip point has always been like one of my favorites. It's just so traditional. We can see that we do have a dual thumb studs on here. We do have the axis lock, which is obviously righty or lefty accessible. So just you know, swing the blade closed. You could flick it out. You could you know, use the axis lock, hold the axis lock down to flick it out or flick it shut. I think the patent has expired on the axis lock. That's why we're starting to see it on other brands. There's a little close-up of that lock. You know, if you like knives and knife videos and stuff, I'm sure you've seen the axis lock before, but just in case you haven't, all right, let me rest the tip on there so it doesn't move. But this bar goes back and forth. It has 2 omega springs on the inside that create that pressure that keeps it forward. All right, pull down to unlock, it releases the blade. All right, and then obviously in the open position, you see that pops forward and locks in. All right, no blade play, up and down, just a hair side to side. That's probably from the hard use, if I had to imagine, because I did use this thing hard. I'm actually, let me go back in because I was surprised. No edge damage, no tip damage. Okay, we could see the tip is fairly fine. And again, just you know, lightly stabbing into wood. I had a wood plank and prying my way out. No issues whatsoever. Then I did the same thing with a dead tree. No issues, no edge damage, never chipped, rolled, dulled out, nothing like that. So the edge is totally fine all the way throughout. Used this on a ton of cardboard. It's probably most of the cutting I did. I also did a couple zip ties. Zip ties are extremely rough on your knives, okay? Regardless of your steel, you cut through zip ties all the time, eventually you're gonna have some kind of issue. Whether it, you know, flattens your edge, rolls it, chips it out, whatever. It's just tough. It's very hard plastic, all right? Not good for your knives. You should have, what I do normally, if I'm not testing something, I just have a zip tie, I wanna break it off of something. Depending on what it's on, if it's on like, you know, metal or something that's harder or harder material, I'll just take like a multi-tool, take the pliers, grab the head of the zip tie and twist it. And it just snaps, it breaks. It's actually really easy to do. You don't have to physically cut it. I might even make a video on that in the future, a dedicated video, just so people know that. You don't have to use your knives because so many people damage their edges and their tips and stuff trying to cut zip ties off of stuff. Ideally, you'd have like, you know, one of those angled shears, like those medical shears. Those can cut through those very easily. But, you know, you don't have to use your knives to cut zip ties. All right, you can twist them right off. But anyway, that is nor here or there. This is a little bit of a chunky boy, 5.4 ounces. It feels heavier than it is. It feels to me like it's 7 ounces. I mean, it's a chunk of metal. All right, being large, you know, the way it is, and having all the metal involved here with the aluminum bolsters, the stainless liners, big old 4-inch blade there. When it's open, it feels balanced. It doesn't feel heavy, but just closed, pocket carry, you know, EDCing it, definitely feels like a chunk compared to a lot of different knives. So speaking of carry, there's a close-up of the pocket clip. Carries totally fine. It's not deep conceal or anything. You can see there is a lanyard hole that goes through the frame on the back. And of course you can see you could swap the clip to left or right-handed, which between the axis lock and the dual thumb studs, this is truly an ambidextrous knife. You could set this up for a lefty. It would be identical to what a righty has to deal with as far as using it, opening it, closing it, things like that. So yeah, it's a cool knife. I have to say, it is a really cool knife. If you do, you know, a lot of outdoorsy type stuff, if you do literally hunt, I think it's a good option. You know, as far, again, as comfort, ergonomics are fantastic because they're simple. Some of the most comfortable knives I've ever had have been complex designs that just so happen to fit my hand right. Once you start putting all kinds of curves and different angles on things, you're really limiting the comfort for certain people because everyone's hands are different, you know, different shapes, different size fingers, different width fingers, different length fingers. So it's just one of those things where this is just universally comfortable. You know, it might not blow your socks off like melt in your hand, but I don't think anyone would grab this and think like this is uncomfortable. All right, I think it's a very simple design. There is jimping on the liners here, the stainless steel liners. It's a very fine jimping. There's a better shot of that. You definitely feel it. It doesn't protrude, but because these are the bolsters are wide enough, your thumb, at least for my thumb, I do feel that. All right, it does not facilitate extra grip. Okay, keep in mind this is supposed to be pitched for a hunter. If you are, you know, breaking down game, you're in the rain, your hands are wet, bloody, mucky, dirty, sweaty. You know, hunters go through all those type of conditions. You know, you do have sweaty hands. You do, you know, sit out in your blind in the rain. You know what I mean? You might be breaking down, you know, your animal, whatever, and you have blood and guts and stuff. And, you know, it sounds all nasty, but hunters, you know, probably have more of a reason to have a good grip on a knife than any other person. because of those reasons. There's so many different situations where your hands are wet and slippery. Although it doesn't have extra grip for that purpose, I don't think it would be an issue. You know, I'm just pointing out that this little jimping right here is I don't know, it's almost more aesthetic than it is functional. It's not actually keeping my thumb from moving, all right? It's not actually creating grip. I could feel the texture, but I feel like if I were to rub on this smooth aluminum, it's almost the same friction than if I rubbed across the jimping itself. So it's not facilitating any grip there. However, the knife is large enough, and with a little bit of a finger twirl there, I do think that you could facilitate totally, you know, enough grip to get it done. So if your hands were soaking wet, totally muddy, bloody, whatever the situation is, I don't think it's going to be slipping out of your hand very easily. But it is something to consider, all right? If you do often have a lot of wet conditions with your knives, maybe you want to consider something else that has a lot more grip. You know, maybe some, you know, aggressive G10 scales or something like that. But yeah, in fact, in this particular situation, if I were to, you know, work for Benchmade and design their knives, I love this knife. But for that reason, again, I would go with an orange G10 with a lot of texture. Just because, why not? You know what I mean? The whole orange theme would be, you know, put together. And again, that extra texture on the scales might, you know, aid in grip for those hunters. But anyway, overall, I have to say I'm very impressed with the knife. It definitely held up on a couple beating sessions, and no issues at all. So I'm very pleased with it. So there is the Benchmade Crooked River. Again, let me know down in the comment section if you guys know if this one is still in production. I don't think so. I want to say I don't think so. You can still find them at dealers, mostly those gray ones. I think these diamond wood versions are sold out some places, but I'm just not sure if they're currently still making them or not. You know, a lot of companies, even the knives that are successful, sometimes they just move on for various reasons. Companies just move on and, you know, build other stuff. So anyway, that's all. Let me know down in the comment section if you happen to be rocking a Crooked River, and if not, do you rock one of the other hunt series from Benchmade? I mean, they're really cool. I've had several of them. They're all awesome in their own right. But this is like the big daddy. This is the big, bold, hard use, traditional style Foley knife. And I like it. I like it a lot. So that's all. Hopefully you guys have a fantastic day. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow with a brand new video. Take care.